Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. This is Connie with Brave Paper Crafts, coming on today to share with you the paper piecing here. Going to be doing the inking of a second piece and share with you also how I put it together. So this is the free file. It just came out from Kadoodle Bug Designs. Today is Saturday, November 28th. May have come out yesterday, I'm not sure. Anyway, you might want to grab it if you're interested. I've got two of these. This one's finished at 4 inches high, and then whatever Cricut Design Space did for the width, I let it calculate that. And I'm going to be putting this on a, I don't know if I'm going to do it on a loaded envelope. I'm thinking that's what I'm using it for. Haven't quite decided. So anyway, get that little guy going. I'm going to put that, let's see. Let's put it off to the side here so you can still see it a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the green pieces for the eyes. I did change up a couple of colors here. The eyes were blue. Did change that. Did a little bit darker green on the present. And then as you can see, the tag here. I did stamp an image there. I did a sentiment. I didn't use the tag. It would have been way too small unless I had done a print and cut. So, and my ink is getting fairly low, so I'm not going to share the colors I'm using. I use Stampin' Up! Ink. I use some stuff out of the way. I use water-based ink. There's a lot of good companies that have water-based ink. I don't use pigment ink, and I very, very seldom use distress ink on my paper piecings. I do use it for other things, but it reacts much differently than water-based dye-based ink. So that's what I've used for a long time. I do mainly use Stampin' Up, but I do have some close to my heart that I really like also. So whatever you have, like I said, there are a lot of good companies out there. Also using, excuse me, finger sponge daubers. I have the best control with those, and there are a lot of different factors into the inking. Part of it is the paper that you're using. Well, each kind of paper takes ink differently. Even the same brand of ink may take ink differently, and then it depends upon how inked up your sponge already is. These have been used multiple times. They are not new. They're not like just recently washed or new, so they're going to take ink much better. A brand new sponge or just one you haven't used before, you've cleaned it or something, it's not going to take ink as well. So you're going to really want to ink up that sponge dauber. If you're not sure how much ink is in your ink pad, or like I know a couple of mine are quite dry, I don't stamp off like this. Or I don't know if you can, let me see. Get a separate piece of paper here so I don't completely mess this up. This one is fairly dry, and I know that. If it was quite juicy, the ink pad, and you will see, I'll show you which one I have, you're going to see a lot of ink. So you really have to be careful. And my recommendation, if you're not sure how much ink is in your pad, get a separate piece of scratch paper, do it that way. Or take the some scraps from the color you're working on and do it on there first. You will really be amazed at the difference. There are so many factors in inking your edges that you really just kind of, I had to work at it and figure out what worked for me. And I can give you some tips. And please, I'm not trying to sound rude when I'm giving these to you. This is what I've learned. I've had so many questions, so that's the only reason I'm telling you. So on this one, if you hold your finger or your sponge dauber at what a 90-degree angle, you're going to get a lot more ink on your paper piece or on your edge here. If you hold it at more of a 45-degree, or would it be perpendicular? I don't know. I am not good at math and algebra, so excuse me. But if you hold it to the, like level it this way, you're going to get just this flat edge, which you want also. But when I was doing this piece, I was doing it more straight up and down. Now, I'm using the same ink color because I don't have a better dark green that I really want to use. And I just know how this works. So what I do is I'm just coming, at pretty much flat on like this. Also, another thing you can do if you don't have a color wheel or just are good at blending colors, often I will use a dark brown, like a very chocolate colored brown on the dark green, or you could do black or a darker gray on this edge only, just to really make it pop. I don't want to do that on this one. I just want it green, because it will change the color quite a bit if you've ever paid attention or noticed that. So, but just want to give you a heads up, if you don't have a lot of different colors, you could also use the same color, like on this flat, when you're doing the flatter piece, you want more ink here, just stamp off or, dab off some to get some of the excess ink off. Just an idea. You can also use a later touch. It's really just giving it a bit of color. And I go in a ways, depending upon the size and the look I'm looking for. Sometimes I go in more. I've also done with very little ink quite far in, do a second layer with not quite so much, not so far into the piece, with a little more ink, and then I do the third time on just the edge. It varies depending upon the piece, depending upon the colors of ink I have. Yeah, it varies all the time. So that one's done, and I don't have to reuse the sponges because I kept everything out, my stamp pads and stuff, with the sponge daubers on them. And this sponge color, this first layer, is also fairly dry. I just have not taken the time to ink up my stamp pads. It does take a lot of time, and for me it's very messy. I put a lot of brown craft paper, like I get the grocery bags. If I don't get plastic, I will put plastic down too, just because the craft will absorb it. So excuse my clonking there with my stamp pads. Now this too, these, excuse my reach, the outside edge, these being the eyes, I don't want them too dark because I know the blacks here are a little bit smaller, but some of the time the black is quite large for the eye, and then you barely see any of the colored part of the eye. And if the colored part is too dark, it blends right into the black. So I try to be careful there. I'm going to do my blue next. And this is the one that I've already used this, okay? This ink pad is very well inked. That's plenty of ink on it right now. So I'm just going to use it for a bit, but I'll have to re-ink it, and then I will show you exactly what I mean. No matter how careful I am, I still manage to get a lot of ink on my stamp pad. And I have a couple of different blues I like to use. I wanted these brighter. I should have used other blue just to give you an idea. This is a turquoise color. It's more of a brighter blue, and that's what I wanted on these. Sometimes I want a grayish blue. and that I will use also. It just depends upon sometimes the paper I'm using, the background paper, sometimes the piece itself. Like Santa, sometimes I'll use a more of a grayish blue. It really varies. Even if I don't have to re-ink this this sponge topper, I'm going to show you what happens just because it's got the most ink in the pad. Another little trick, if you haven't watched some of my paper piecing videos, I will show you in a moment here. Okay. Also on the white, when I do whites, I try to get just the edges. So a lot of times I'll hold it straight up and down in my pieces instead of working this way. It's the same effect. This is probably not a very good piece, but excuse my inky fingers. There's a little bit of a tick mark there with pencil. I mark the backs of my pieces, even my colored pieces, unless they're textured. Oops, I lost it. It helps me greatly when I'm inking. Often I'll cut a bunch of pieces, put them in a baggie, and then I ink them later. So I don't ever know what's right or wrong, what side is right and wrong. So, okay, let me move these out of the way so I don't lose any, because I already lost the nose on that. That was behind the face and I glued it together. Yeah. Okay, so I just stamped or pounced a little bit to get some ink on. That is where I'm at. And now if you press, that's how dark my ink is on that, and it will come out quite dark. So I just, if I'm not careful or if I'm not sure, I will just start getting a lot of ink off. Usually when it's a more moist ink pad, I try to just do it once in a very, very light touch. But I wanted to show you what happens. It doesn't look like you have much ink on your ink pad. You really do. And even though the colors will fade some as they dry, blues do not a whole lot. I don't know what the deal is, but some of my colors, purples is another one. It depends upon the color of the purple, but yeah, it doesn't very well. This is my base piece. I don't cut them in gray. I cut them in either white or this lightweight tan if I'm going to use it. And because I wasn't sure if I was going to get at this right away, I just put F for front. I didn't want it on the back depending upon what I used for my my paper piece for. So that's why because it's going to get all covered up. But I just wanted to show you on these, I just put a little bit of ink, not a lot, excuse me, and I just do this one color. And I only do this just because it does show a little bit and I don't get it cut off. It just blends in a lot better, so just to make it quite so stark. But this ink pad also very, very dry, so it takes a lot of extra ink. Now I put that there because these three will be coming back with another color on the outside. And I was going to say, if you don't have a lot of colors of ink, a good way to do it is, and I've seen this before and it's beautiful, there are like 3 colors you would really want to have, and that would be black, gray, and brown, any color of brown. And what you can do is what the part I'm doing right now, this when I go flatter to get more ink in, let's say you're going to do everything in brown, because that's kind of blending in with your colors better. That's what I would use on this. If I was only using one color, I would do a softer shade on this part, and then I would do a heavy ink on this part with the same color. Doesn't have to be You don't have to have a ton of colors, so it's just what works. So, and then I'm going to come back in on these three, and yeah, I need some ink on my. It's quite dry, as I can see, and there's not. Yeah, I have a few ink pads that really need to be inked up. This is one of them too, but so you can see just going around them the difference. And it may not look like a whole lot now, but when you get the whole piece together, it does. And one other thing I wanted to comment on, I was working on a couple of little like thank you or Christmas note cards last night. Whoa, excuse me. I was really concerned. I cut them out and I thought, oh, these are not going to come together. They just, can't tell you. They just didn't, I didn't like them. Thought, well, like everything, just put them together and see how they come out. I was very happy with the end result. So don't give up until you've got everything together. That's my big thing. Okay, I'm going to do the red, and I'm doing the base color first. And I tend to get heavy-handed with my reds. And I have a shocking surprise at the color I have started doing the outside darker edge with. So you might be able to get it from there. Not sure. Oh, the other thing I changed up on this piece is the nose. And I'm only going to ink around this once. I'm not going to do an outside color because I'm going to put glitter on, but my gingerbread pieces, I always change the nose to red. Don't know. I just think they need a red nose. You can do the same color it has, and if you want to add red glitter, you can, but you'll get a little bit different effect. The red color will be a little bit different. Now I'm going to show you a little bit how I do this, and it won't show so much on here, but how I'll do it on the hat too. I hold my sponge dauber straight out like this, and it's just tilted the slightest bit. So when it comes to an indentation, and I'll show you on my ink pad, I actually have it at about a 45-degree angle, and just get some ink on the edge here, because otherwise you tend to get it on the flat part. So, and then I just come in and that's how you get that indentation. I'll show you in the hat here. Also, if I can get a hold of it. So you got a bump here, 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 and here. You don't need it to come in maybe a 1/4 of an inch, depending upon the size of what you're working on. I don't do as well with real large pieces when I'm inking and putting things together anymore. I used to not be able to work on anything this small. It's crazy, but now I can do much better with a smaller piece. And I'm wondering if that's maybe the cards I was doing last night. They're approximately 4-inch size. You might have seen them on my Facebook page. But it was the whole piece. It wasn't just, wasn't so many small pieces like this. It was pretty much the whole card, because I took a bag topper and made them into cards. So I have some peppermint wrappers from Treasure Box Designs. They were designed for, York peppermint patties. Well, York doesn't have round peppermint patties anymore. And so I've started using them for cards, and I made treat boxes one year for my great nephew for school. Yeah, there's a lot of different things you can manipulate them for. So I'm going to do the red, the outline, the side pieces. That's my color. It's called Fig or Fresh Fig. It's not available anymore. It was retired. But reddish purple works really good on red. It gets it really quite deep. I also use cherry cobbler. It really depends upon the look I'm going for. I wanted these darker, so that's what I'm going with. You can also get this effect for the shadows like that, where I'm putting, you know, where the little marks are coming in, with a marker or a colored pencil. I don't get my colored pencils out for that, and I don't have the markers I do have are very fine tip. They're detailing markers. They are not for shading or anything. I don't have Copics or anything, so this is what I use, and it works for me. I have also done it with a couple different colors of colored pencils and blended them out though. Okay. My lid's stuck. Now I'm going to put it together. If you want to stick around, I have, well, since I have this one in front of me, I'm okay, but I also have the computer in front of me. But I start with the layer that's that stupid pin and the layer that's the farthest behind. I complain about that pin all the time. Lately I've been sneezing a little bit with allergies, and one of these days I'm going to swallow it, I just know. And how am I going to explain that at the medical facility? Good grief. I already think I'm crazy, but okay. One thing, and I did screw this up here, and I'm not going to do it again, and that's why I wanted to do one for you so I'd know what I was doing. This goes on next. I tried to put the lid of the box or the present on, and it actually had a ripple effect when I was putting the bow and the hand on over here. So I'm going to get this on first. Then I will come back and put the lid on. Live and learn. Okay, then I come in and put the head on. For this, I'm sorry, I gotta wait for this to drip down a minute. I used my beacon just because I have a little more wiggle room than I do with the art glitter glue. And I do need it because this and the hat, I cut it, and partly because it's bigger, so it just works better, but I gotta get it on. Don't try to put the head on down there. It actually has spots here, so, and this is where I want to get it on right. And I don't think that it should be straight, more straight. Try to look at the picture, so there. That might have had an effect over here when I was putting things together, because this one is just a little bit, I think just a tiny bit crooked. So excuse again my reach. Get my eyes over here. The eyes have a tiny bit of an indentation here on just one side that goes in the middle. And the eyes are not perfectly round. I'm putting them, they're just a tiny bit oval. And I will show you what I do there. I discovered that even on the other ones. I put them at just a little bit of an angle. And I want them, I'm going to see once. I did them, the other ones, I didn't like how they went. Yeah, there's barely an angle, but I'm just putting them so they meet at the top. just to give you an idea. One of these days I'll take some time and clean up my workspace, but I don't like doing that. I just put stuff away as I kind of go and haul some more stuff out. And everything goes in a closet now. And I wait for a few days, a week, whatever. Depends upon how often I craft. And then I go put stuff away. Before I put the eyes on, I want to put the cheeks on. I didn't the other one either, and oh, what a mess. Keep racing because the chalk for the cheeks kept getting in the whites of the eyes, and oh, I was not happy. I use about 3 colors, and then I just blend it out over here, so you're kind of wondering what I'm doing there. And also this chalk has more dust. I don't know if you can see that, so I'm used to my pan pastels, and there's not really any dust with those too much, so. Okay, now, kind of want to figure out where my eyes are going to go. I'll probably move them down just the slightest bit, but if you do not have a, I forget, I think this is a Tombow, some kind of a sanding eraser for ink. I use it more on white than anything. If you have a white colored pencil, let the ink dry, color it over with the white. You can try it with the Jelly Roll or the Uniball, the white. I often get it smeared, and maybe I don't wait for it to dry. I have the best luck with chalk, or excuse me, with white colored pencils, so just a little hint. Okay, and I do turn them in just a little bit. Now I'm going to come in and do my eyes. Excuse me. I have to put the pin in the glue, or it'll get kind of dry. Okay, and I do use the pan pastels. And I don't talk when I'm doing this because I concentrate too hard. Tap off the excess before I get it on here. Don't panic if it gets everywhere and looks like a little, no offense, but a young child did it. That's what I have a pencil eraser for. And it's well loved and used, I tell you. Sometimes it looks like a little monster before I get done. Just thought I would share. I'm going to be doing a couple project shares. One is for my Christmas cards. I'm quite impressed. I think this is the first time that I ever remember. I have, maybe 15 or 16 Christmas cards done, and it's not even the 1st of December. Usually it's the 15th of December, and I think I should start on my Christmas cards. So, woohoo. And then I have a couple other project shares, and I do have a little gift box I want to show you how to put together. So I'm coming on with all of that. I'm going to leave the chalk alone for right now. I think we're going to be good with it. You can always add more if you want. If you think you need once you do this part, if you're going to do the eyelashes. I usually just say enough. I don't want to get to where I just don't, you know, when I'm over processing or overdoing things, then it gets to be too much. I have been studying some eyelash techniques on Pinterest, just looking to see how they did them. I don't have my white marker or white pen, colored pencil, so I'm just gonna use my colored pen or my marker for now. While I'm here, I'm just gonna do my eyes. These eyes will be a little bit different than these. I learned a trick with white pens. If they don't work right away, get, you know, just a drop of water, not even, just barely get your finger damp. Put it on there and get it nice and wet, and then mark it off on a piece of paper, and it'll start really well. It works for me. Just sharing that with you. Okay, now I'm going to come and put her nose on. I'm not putting the glue on that yet, the glitter glue. I want to wait a little bit before I put the bow on, because I will have glue or glitter everywhere. I already had to erase some on that one, so I usually try to put it on last, but I can't on this one. Okay, now I'm going to finish her head first. This goes on fairly low, right above, not too far above her eyes. Someday I'm going to get some, oh, I don't know if it's sienna brown, I forget the color. I know I've got it in my head, but pan pastels instead of black all the time. Just gives it a little bit softer shadow, but we will see. This to me looks kind of strange before it gets all put together with that inking like that, but when it all comes together, I think it looks really nice. Okay, this is another thing. The hat doesn't go all the way down because you've got the white piece. So you gotta put it up toward the top. Then you've got, well, let's do this. Now this little thing, it actually goes on there a special way. That one, the little one, I had a problem. I couldn't get it figured out, and sometimes the Cricut doesn't cut exactly the same size as the background piece, so it took a little bit. I wanted to run these through the Kadoodle Bug, the snowball on the top and this brim of his hat, but I don't know if you know, it will shrink up the paper the tiniest bit. So if you're using the background piece, that shadow piece, I don't recommend that because it will change the sizing. I've tried that multiple times and it just does not work, and I can't get the sizing right. If I make, you know, the piece I'm going to put through the Kadoodle Bug, if I make it a little bit bigger, I can't ever get it right. So just my thought on that, to give you an idea. Okay, you can put the, nope, got to put the bow on first. So we need to put some glitter on his nose if you're going to do that. Again, this is all optional. Okay. And if you're wondering, this is these are the Nuvo glitter drops, and it's ruby red slipper that I'm using for the nose. I prefer that to other types of glitter just because I have the best luck with it. So now this, because I have the glitter, I have to be kind of careful. It goes off a little bit, and I want to put it up a little bit so there's no gaps in this background piece when I put the hand on. So I'm going to put it up this time fairly high. I didn't the last time, and I had to do a little bit of fussy cutting, which I hate to do. So excuse me one moment. I apologize. Okay. Again, I'm going to put it up fairly high. And I'm going to put it over just a hair. Kind of being careful of the glitter on the nose, by the way, just in case you're wondering. Then I'll get the little tag on. You could put some baker's twine or some little real fine twine in there. I'm going to leave it plain. I just don't want to get too carried away here. What I'm doing is just making sure the bottom matches so it covers up anything over here that might need to be covered up, because the hands are only so big. So then you have these two pieces. You've got like the roundish piece and then this piece. So this piece actually goes in the middle here. Just gives it a little bit more depth. You could pop it up if you wanted. I am determined this year, this is actually going to go on a Christmas card, and I am determined this year to make as flat of cards as possible, strictly because I'm not paying $3 and $4 to mail one card this year. So just thought I would share that with you. Okay, this is more of an oval again. It goes up and down. It does not, but it does not matter. If you do it the other way, perfectly fine. Okay, if you're wondering why I didn't put the frosting or the icing on the hands yet, if you can see maybe more on this one, there is the outline or the shadow piece is designed to where those fit. So I did not want to do anything to cause any problems with that. And I saw that when I had cut it out. Otherwise, I normally would put them on right away so I don't lose them. But yeah, not this time. And then I'll get it so it'll just, there's just a tiny smidgen, and I'm sure you can't see. No, I'm sure not, but there's just, you know, maybe a 32nd of an inch, if that you can see. But this little tiny piece of the icing fits on there and we'll cover it up. So get it on there fairly straight. Yes, I'm that persnickety, believe it or not. All right. I did use a new piece of background paper here today, but often what I do is I save my junk mail and just use it. And then you can always, if you shred it, whatever, you can still run it through the shredder. It doesn't hurt it, but good way to use up all that scrap mail, junk mail. Here too, I think you can see better here on the hand. There's a little bit on each side. There's a little bit of a indentation there. Excuse my hands. I have to do two hands to do anything. So now I am just about done. For those of you, I forget, I'm thinking it was Stamping Songbird 1, if I get that right. Anyway, somebody had commented they bought some chalk to learn how to do highlighting. I really don't. I just do it wherever it kind of is up higher where the light might hit it more, so to speak. So I'm trying to be careful for that nose. I do rub a little bit off either on paper or on my hand, and I'll come back and buff this out a little bit. I'm just using a eyeshadow sponge. Sometimes I'll use my finger. I need to get a new, I've got more of these. These were gifted to me. I've got some more. I just haven't gotten them out. You don't need very much. It just kind of an illusion more than anything. And then I come back. I'm going to do the whites, the white in the green part this time. And yeah, I like it better there. And then I come back in the middle here. And I haven't put any more ink, or chalk, excuse me, on my eyeshadow makeup sponge. I just keep using what I have. Make sure this is going. One of these gel pens works so wonderful. And then I have one that I kind of have to coax once in a while. So I'm thinking this is the one that has to be coaxed a little bit to get going. And on red, it doesn't always work the best. I can already tell you that. Don't know what that is about, but that is, let me turn the paper over so it's clean so you can see better. Those are my two finished pieces. Again, this is going on a loaded pocket. I'm not going to do the envelopes. I already made my mind for that because I'm going to be using these to put on gifts for my neighbors. Things had to change drastically there due to the pandemic. And this will be going on a card. So when I get my Christmas cards ready to show you, I will be sharing that in the finished card. But if nothing else, guys, I want to thank everybody for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day and a good holiday season. I'll be, with any luck, back with more videos. But if you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up. And please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't. I would love that. Have a great day. Take care.